October 23rd at 6 o'clock. It's 6:03 when this is called to order. For clarity to anyone that's here, the Zoning Board of Appeals is a branch of the regular village council, which holds all authority over it and is the final arbiter in anything that the Zoning Board of Appeals may or may not choose to do. In this case, there really isn't one, and it was going to wind up here anyway, so we kind of cut out the middleman. And the Ortonville Village Council will deal with the request for rezoning. With that being said, I would like to have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and ask Ryan to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks very much. If I could have roll call.
Quisenberry?
Oh, I'm here.
Nivell? Here. Brooks is with notice. Pat George is also with notice. Green?
Here.
Hayden?
Here.
Randazzo?
Here. Okay, the agenda is pretty short. If somebody would like to make a motion to approve it.
Make a motion to approve the agenda of October 23rd, 2023.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have an agenda. Item 5 is approval of minutes. I guess it was interesting for me to read from the first time the minutes of August 22nd, 2022, because I wasn't around at that. So, all new information to me, so I got a chance to review them. However, I'm going to abstain on the voting of approving them because I can't approve something I haven't known of. Wasn't a part of. I couldn't correct anything, let's put it that way. But that is in the packet, so if somebody wants to approve the minutes of that meeting, we can do so.
Are we accepting them or approving?
Look, we should approve minutes.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes of the ZBA. What's the date on that?
August 22nd.
August 22nd, 2022. Thank you.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. In terms of discussion, I would just say because they are minutes, us voting on them makes them official public record or official village documents, so we probably should do that. Let's just do a roll call.
Nivell?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Hayden?
Yes.
Randazzo?
Yes.
Quisenberry?
Abstain. So it passes 4-0. So those are now accepted, and they can go down in the history books of the Village of Ortonville. Next up is unfinished business. We don't really have any because
It's been a year and a half.
things have been handled up till now. It takes us to new business, and there are 2 items. One is 456 South Ortonville Road, and the other is 490 South Ortonville Road. I had a chance to read over both of those, and they seemed to be pretty much carbon copies of each other, and those are the 2 different items. So the only distinction between the 2 requests for permits is the address at which we're requesting them to be, the zoning to occur. Because this is a public hearing and a public meeting, I'd like to ask anybody here who has come to speak one way or another on this issue. This would be the time for us to do that. Before I do it, just for informal reasons, by show of hands, of who's here tonight, raise your hand if you plan on speaking to the council. 3, is that it? Okay. I mean, you can change your mind. I was just trying to, what I'm also going to ask is if you are here to speak requesting the zoning Board of Appeals approves the variance, or are you here to request that they reject the variance? because I want to alternate is the reason I'm asking that. You don't have to divulge your opinion.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So we are actually here on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, great.
So we're requesting.
I was just going to ask if there was people here that were opposed to it. I would like to alternate who speaks when. So that being said, there isn't anybody, so it looks like you're on deck. You're the first one up.
Do we need to motion a public hearing to make it official?
Yeah, let's do
Sorry.
this. I got to open a public hearing. That's what I meant.
Didn't have it on the agenda, my bad.
Yeah, I would like to,
I make a motion to enter public hearing for discussion of the ZBA requests before us.
Support.
7 PM.
all right, moved and supported the public hearing portion of the zoning board of appeals regular meeting. There's been a motion and I think somebody supported it?
Yes, I support.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nobody's opposed to it, so we can begin a public hearing. With that, again, I had a gentleman who was on deck, I believe you still are, so if you don't mind, you can address us in any way or from any spot you want to. There is a podium and a microphone if you care to use that. If not, and you're gonna use these diagrams as part of your discussion, then you feel free to have the floor. And once again, there isn't a time limit on this, however, I'm just gonna ask that you make the points that you wanna make, and I only stop somebody if it begins to get repetitive. So with that in mind, you're off and running.
We're gonna actually have Mr. Leach go first.
You can do it, you can, any order.
Good afternoon. My name is Casey Leach. I'm with Keith Engineering. We've been working with the applicant through the site plan approval process. And we've got two sites here today, 456 and 490 South Ortonville Road. In this plan here, this is the plan that we submitted for site plan approval. The Planning Commission reviewed this. We received a conditional approval based on several bullet points that we need to address. You know, permitting, contacting MDOT, working with Eagle for wetlands. There were a couple other things in there, fire lane turning. One of the items was variances for setbacks. Due to the existing construction, it's an existing non-conforming building inside the setbacks. So with the redevelopment of this lot, they don't want to have to tear this building down and rebuild it because there's a lot of things that go along with that. What we did before this meeting too, and so this is kind of the site with the existing building. We kind of took a look at what would this look like if we were to tear the building down, and we just kind of picked an arbitrary number. We thought 2,000 square feet is maybe an average building that, you know, a user of this site, maybe, you know, not this particular user, but anybody would use. So we put this building on, we put the required parking on, and we're showing a, you know, relocated septic. We're familiar with the soils in this area. We've been involved with projects further south here. We know that we got a very high groundwater table with Duck Creek coming through. So we anticipate poor soils, clay soils. We anticipate high water table, engineered field, raised bed. This site, you know, what we're kind of showing here is this site is not workable. It's very, you know, if you know, with this building, you know, if you go down to, I don't know, a certain size, will it be workable? You know, maybe, but is anybody going to invest that? And that's kind of what we're looking at is the, you know, added cost to put in an engineered field. I mean, it does already overlap the parking lot. There's no space for a reserve field. We're just out of room here. I know another issue that the Planning Commission came up with that they were concerned with when they made their recommendation was the sanitary sewer that's going to come in eventually. We don't know exactly where it's going to run, you know, this side or, you know, the other side of M15, but we took a look at it. We have between 30 and 32 feet between the property line and the back of curb. To us, that's plenty of room to get, you know, a 3-foot trench bottom and then a dozen or 15-foot deep sewer there. That's just open cutting it without trench boxes. So we're not really concerned with that construction. We don't think that it's an issue. So I mean, that's 4, 5, 6. Are we talking about both of them at the same time?
Sure, yep, you get,
Both of them?
you get one bite at the apple here.
Okay, so we did a similar thing, and I guess, you know, part of the issue, before I just flip this, part of the issue is just we have so much non-buildable area on the site. This line here is our wetlands limit. These have been, you know, delineated by an environmental scientist. We also have floodplain going through here, so, you know, on this northern property in particular, our build site is just this little strip in the front. So once you take the setbacks away, it's gonna be really hard for anybody to get anything in there. So, I mean, it's going to be a very similar argument for both of these sites. So what we're showing on the other ones, and I guess this is reverse, so we have, just to keep it consistent, this is the site plan that we submitted to the planning commission, received the conditional approval, all the same bullet points. If that building were to be torn down, and so, you know, in this case, we're planning on reusing the septic, and in this case, we would put the septic on the other side, or someone would if they were to try to redevelop it. We tried the same 2,000 square foot building. We can get a couple more parking spaces, a little, I mean, the wetlands come through here is what we're showing is we can get, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 there. These ones we just kind of tried to lay out to show, you know, you're not even getting your circulation for your fire apparatus through there.
Casey, can you tell us which one was which building when you say using the existing septic and then that, because when you flip them, just so I'm following right.
This is 490, this is Country Countertops.
Thank you.
The
And that
prior
is,
one was 456.
which is the
Provaco.
Okay, and then that one is the one that you're using the existing or not?
For Country Countertops, we're gonna reuse the septic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Provaco roofing, we will end up, that was part of what the planning commission sent us to do, is go find out more about these septics. So we FOIA'd down at the county, they sent us back records for 456 Provaco roofing. You know, it's back here. We're proposing a building addition, so this is going to change slightly. We are gonna lose these, 5 spaces here, but we'll be able to gain another couple right here. So we will lose the south half of this site to put a septic in here. We're already anticipating this. What we, at the stage when we submitted this, we wanted to lay out the maximum amount of parking spaces we thought that we could fit on this site and get that approved through the planning commission. And as we went through the permit process, if the health department, county health department or Eagle, knocked us down or slowed us down due to wetlands or poor soils for septics, we chopped those parking spaces off as we went through, more detailed engineering design in the permit process. So, since the planning commission meeting, we have learned new information. We will lose these parking spaces there. So I believe, that's kind of the technical aspect of this, is that it's going to be very, very challenging to get something on this site that meets the ordinance due to the setbacks, and especially cost-wise too, because you're not going to get, these septics are going to be really expensive, and even, I don't even see a raised bed going in there without site walls, which you're going to have somebody willing to spend a lot of money for a little postage stamp worth of a site. So that's kind of my technical engineering spiel on these.
Okay,
All
perfect.
right.
That was
Thanks,
put into
Casey.
layman's terms. Thank you for that, Casey. Who wants to go next? Sure, man.
Casey has a lot better memory than me, and he can work without notes, so I'm gonna jump in front of the podium.
If you
So
don't mind, can you scoot over just a little bit?
or
'Cause
can
we'd like
can I
to-
move this?
It will
Move
be
the
a
maps or
There we
something.
go. That makes it easy. All right.
And then please state your first and last name too.
Will do. Sure. Joey Kedgebu, I'm here on behalf of the applicant tonight. My address is 803 West Big Beaver, Suite 202, Troy, Michigan. I'm here on behalf of the applicant tonight. Mr. Leach did a very good job of introducing the technical aspects, and I'll try to avoid any talk about that because I'm just not as well versed in it as he is, so that's kind of his department. For me, as an introduction to the property, as they currently stand, I think you're both familiar with, well, you're all familiar with the condition of the property. They're both in very dilapidated conditions. They continue to deteriorate year after year, month after month. And at both sites, what we have is two family-run businesses that don't have the financial ability to renovate these properties. They don't have the financial ability to certainly knock them down and bring them into compliance. And more importantly, they've been in a position where they don't have any interest from anybody else in developing these properties and committing the financial resources that would be necessary to strictly comply with the zoning code and the setbacks in particular. For that reason, they'd both be in a position where they'd be building properties that are significantly smaller, relocating them, dealing with the septic issues, and it just wouldn't be financially feasible for anybody, whether cannabis related or otherwise, to come along and make that financial commitment. So what we're here to do is, if we can get these variances in place, is we're going to commit the financial resources. We're ready to roll with these projects, and we're really making ourselves committed to making these two properties an asset to the community and the first things that you see when you come in. As far as the Planning Commission comments at the underlying meeting that led to this current meeting, there were a few different recurring themes that were touched on and the different Planning Commission members took issue with or just had general concerns with, and they didn't necessarily have any clarity on how it would impact the overall area. One of the items was the sewer system, which Mr. Leach touched on. I'm not going to jump into that. I think Mr. Leach has done a very good job of identifying how those wouldn't be impacted and there wouldn't be any negative blowback from what we're proposing to do if we do get these variances. Another item that was touched on was that the commissioners really saw this as an opportunity for redevelopment entirely, and by that, they touched on the idea of knocking these two properties down and completely redeveloping them. While it's a very, very admirable thought, for the reasons I'm going to state and address in my subsequent comments, it's just not a realistic possibility from a functional or financial perspective. The other item that they touched on was that these properties, for whatever reason, they don't have any variances on record for years. I mean, they've been there since the beginning of time, as far as I know, and as far as the reports say and all the different records associated with the property can confirm. So what we're here to do today is to make it official. We're seeking to comply with the zoning code, make sure that we have everything appropriately documented, make sure that we're doing everything that the village needs us to do to move forward with these particular projects. And on a final note, just with 4, 5, 6, there was a lot of discussion about what can or can't be done just because of the physical issues with the property, with where we can and can't build, and some of the other items that Mr. Leach touched on. Again, for the sake of not being repetitive, those were discussed during the underlying meeting. Now, in response to those, sewer, we've already addressed. For the redevelopment, for each property, if we were to redevelop them in a way that knocks down the existing structure and puts them in a position where we meet all of the setback requirements, we'd be losing two very critical components for retail facilities. We'd be losing both the parking and we'd be losing the square footage. They're very imperative for both of the development of these properties. The septic costs with relocating would be significant, especially if we'd have to relocate it on the 490 property. It'd be very economically challenging and just wouldn't make sense from a numbers crunching perspective. And I say that not just for us, but again, for non-cannabis retail users, it would just make these projects very, very difficult to develop for anybody. The properties as they currently exist, they're non-conforming, not only from a setback perspective. They're non-conforming from a landscaping perspective. They don't have pavement that's compliant with the parking requirements. They don't have a lot of the features that any village would require for today's standards to bring it up to code and to make it truly usable and functional. Now, the other big discussion that the planning commissioner centered around was the Zoning Enabling Act questions that come into play when there's any kind of discussion about whether variances should be granted. And these aren't just necessarily village standards. These are standards throughout the state, through any municipality, and things that are taken into consideration. The first question that was asked was, would strict adherence prevent the property owner from using the property? So that one is kind of a yes and no question. The planning commissioners decided that, no, this wouldn't prevent the existing property owners from using the property, and I don't necessarily think that that's an accurate answer.
I can just let you know, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Sure.
We got that entire questionnaire and
Okay.
all the planning commission notes as it relates to that. So if you want to go over it again, you could, but
Oh,
it
okay.
is a little bit repetitive.
Okay,
If you want to just make some highlights on it, that'd be great,
sure, we'll do.
because we did get a chance to read all of that, is I guess what I want to mention.
Okay, and I appreciate that. So in regards to whether it would be usable, the vote was that they think that it would still be usable, but the reality is, it's not usable for, neither property will be usable for a number of reasons. Once that non-conforming use ceases, that property, when a new user comes along, will no longer be entitled to use that non-conforming use by law going forward. They will have to come right before this governing body, have to ask for these exact same variances if they seek to redevelop and reuse the property. As it currently stands, as I mentioned, both properties are being used as family-owned businesses that are on their way of being defunct. They don't have the resources to redo these properties, and at some point, the reality of the situation is they're probably going to close down, and when they do close down, that non-conforming use will no longer even be an option. So what will you be left with? We would be left with 2 vacant buildings that are going to continue to deteriorate and be the first 2 buildings that are seen once you enter the village. That's the reality of the situation. So can they be used today? Sure, they can be. They're being used at a less than optimal capacity. They're being used with very nominal traffic, with very nominal business going into there, and they're just used but not functional for the most part. So any future use is going to come into this same issue that they're going to have to run into and try to resolve. The second question of,
Well, again, we don't want to go over all the questions.
oh, I'm not going over the question. I'm not trying to go over the question. The harmonious piece.
Yes, there you go.
The harmonious piece. I wasn't going to go over the question, but in terms of harmony. So when the village drafted their marijuana ordinance, these properties qualified for the marijuana ordinance. They met all of the setback requirements. We went through a very lengthy process of coming in front of all the different governing bodies that made decisions on who got these licenses, why they got these licenses, and these 2 properties were part of a map that was actually generated prior to the actual application period. These 2 properties met and checked all of the boxes for the harmonious/village code criteria. In terms of what's surrounding these properties, it's all commercial around these properties. We're in a position where it would absolutely be harmonious because we have other surrounding businesses that right now could rely on this additional traffic and additional customer base that could be drawn by these different facilities. I assure you, if A&W across the street were to see an extra amount of vehicular traffic, whether it's from village residents or outside of the village, they could benefit from that. They'd have the opportunity to increase their business and sustain a little more economic feasibility. That Citgo gas station across the street, I'm sure they'd welcome the opportunity. We're right in the heart of what is a commercial corridor for the village and where these sites were strategically planned and designated to be put per the village's ordinance. So we think that the harmony piece is satisfied. And while we respectfully understand the Planning Commission's position, we just don't think that it's necessarily in line with future land use and with the concept of where that commercial corridor is supposed to look like. And the other piece that I do want to mention in terms of harmony, I do want to make it very clear that if these variances are granted, there's no intent for us to divert from the current village standards in terms of the Victorian look, in terms of what the environment is going to look like as a whole. The construction of these properties or the retrofitting of these properties would be in line with exactly how the character of the village currently looks. There wouldn't be any diversion. We're not looking to introduce any kind of modern, sore thumb that's going to stick out and diverge from what the village is used to at this point. These properties will be built in strict compliance with village standards and made sure that they're uniform with the look, the feel, the expectation of what it is when you come into the village of Ortonville. And on a final note, regarding the 3 points, they did confirm that this isn't a self-created thing. This is something that's gone on for ages now. That's proven by the fact that there are no variances on record. These properties have been used as non-conforming uses for as long as the reports can identify. If there's a specific date, great. But the reality of the situation is that there are no variances on record, and there are there are no variances on record. I mean, I'll just leave it at that without being repetitive. And also, as just a sidebar for those harmony pieces, not only are we looking to upgrade the structure, new pavement will be introduced, new cuts will be introduced that will be up to current standards. New landscape beds will be introduced that will also be in line with the village's standards. New features that will benefit everybody around in terms of security features that cover the roads, that cover the unseen spots, helps with, deterring crime and things like that. These are all benefits that will be harmonious with the neighboring properties and that I think would benefit all of the neighboring properties. And then just in closing, from a purely commitment standpoint to the village, I do want to point out some of the underlying things that went into these initial applications at the marijuana application level, and some of the things that were taken into consideration when we did decide to submit to the village of Ortonville and try to be a part of the community. So from a harmony perspective and from a community contribution perspective, please understand we'd be bringing a significant number of jobs to the village that all pay above a living wage. We'd increase the tax base for the village. We'd be able to entitle the village to an annual tax revenue that's not paid by us, but that's actually paid by the state of Michigan as part of the cannabis regulatory scheme. This past year, every single municipality in the state received a $52,000 stipend per facility. So for the village, if both of these sites were given these variances and development moved forward, that's a $104,000 annual increase in revenue that the village can use for whatever purpose they designate. That comes from the state of Michigan. In terms of things that we committed to and that we are bound by in our application, for the 490 location, we committed to a $200,000 initial contribution to the village if these sites were approved and finalized for licensing and built out and we saw this thing to fruition, a $35,000 annual contribution to the village's budget, fundraising efforts that we committed to, and we also would have our employees commit volunteer hours to clean up, to different community events, to different needs that the village may have, whether it's cleanup in the cities or events where they need extra volunteers. We've committed to that on the 490 site. And on 456, it was a $35,000 initial donation once licensing was granted, $35,000 annual donation thereafter, in perpetuity, I believe is what it was. And there were volunteer hours for community events and charity drives that we were also committing to. So all of those things kind of go to that harmony piece and things that we're looking to contribute to the village and make sure that we are embedded and ingrained, not just as a cannabis dispensary looking to have, sales and revenues, but actually being part of the village. And I think that goes to the very heart of being in harmony with any village, city, municipality, no matter where you are. I think these are the things that we've put on paper, we've committed to, and go to that harmony piece that I think would be very beneficial to the village. If there's anything else I can answer in terms of functionality for the facility, our plans going forward, I'd be happy to do it, but ultimately, we'd love the opportunity to retrofit these two existing buildings as they are if we can get these variances today and make both of these properties an asset to the community that would present very well as the first two structures that you see when you enter the village of Ortonville. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else who wanted to speak to that? If you would like to, please do.
Hi, my name is Wendy Hammer. I'm here on behalf of 490 Country
Wendy,
Countertops.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Hammer, Hammer, formerly Fleming. Charles Fleming, the owner of 490's daughter. I've spoken to all of you before, and just here on behalf to ask for approval on the variances. Sorry, emotional, but listening to just the disappointment of the building is hard, because we like to represent so much more for Ortonville. It's where I grew up and want a lot more for it. And when we accepted this offer, we were really hoping that it would give more back to the community.
Thanks, Wendy. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the village council?
ZBA.
Request for variance. There are no more. I would say, Ryan, that ends the public portion of the meeting.
Motion to end the public meeting?
I'm sorry. I gotta ask a question. My name is Dave Lucas.
Yes, sir.
I own the property south of the cabinet shop.
Yes?
And is there a variance request between my property and the cabinet shop?
Not that I'm aware of.
Excellent.
Okay. I mean, they're in applications, and it specifies what these, what the plot numbers is and the tax ID numbers that are associated with each one of these lots that they're requesting for. Okay, well, there's no inner discussion here. If you made your question to the board and I can answer you, there's none I'm aware of. There's a request for a variance on setbacks. With that, you have a motion.
Make a motion to close the public meeting and resume regular regular ZBA session.
Support.
Moved and supported. Those in favor of closing the public hearing portion of this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the public portion of the meeting is closed, and the meeting now will reopen as the Village of Ortonville Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting
At 6:32 PM.
at 6:32 PM. And this is still Monday, October 23rd. Okay, next on the agenda is nothing in the agenda. In case anybody wants to make a motion, though, at this time, we can do so. Well, we have to have the motion, then we can do it.
We're doing them one at a time.
Yeah, we have to start that out and list the two parcel numbers, and we will vote on them individually.
I make a motion to deny the variance for property 490, oh no, we gotta do the other one
456.
first. Okay. I'll hold off on that. I gotta think about that more. Anybody else motion?
That was for 490?
No, there wasn't.
Well, the first one in our agenda is 456.
Okay, so which one are you making a
Which order we take
motion
them in
for?
doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll make a motion then. I make a motion that we accept the planning commission's recommendation to deny the variance application for 456 South Ortonville Road.
Support. A motion on the floor, it's been supported. If there's further discussion on this, we can do so at this time.
I do have some discussion on that. I'm wondering, Melanie, you were at the planning commission and I see Bob's out there too. They brought up a number of points about how this property is not usable as it is. Did they raise all of those same points at the planning commission meeting when?
Of how it is not usable?
Yes, about the constraints they said about not being able to put in septics, not being, having to put the new septic, not being able to get enough
Subject
parking
was
spots.
new information this evening, of those two properties, that's why I asked about that. So, that, tonight.
Okay, so you heard new information at this meeting that you did not hear that the planning commission did not hear.
I know that they were continuing to do their due diligence, so
Okay.
that's, county takes, all of that takes forever, so.
Okay, and
I
that's
cannot
why, the
speak
reason
for
I'm
that.
asking about that is because in light of some of the information, it seems that there could potentially be some hardship on the part of the property or some constraints based upon this new information, so.
And I guess, for example, the parking situation is new because of where the septic is and the loss of spots.
Yeah.
That was new.
So in light of some of those things, rather than just flat out deny, I would be sort of inclined to change that, depending on what people want to do, and ask to have it reviewed again by the planning commission in light of the new information to see if they would change their recommendation.
Well, Larry, we can't entertain that, though. What we've got is the motion, a motion and a support.
Yeah.
In discussion, and then we're gonna have to
And-
vote either this up or down before we could even think about.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
And that's fine, I made the
Sure,
motion.
Sure.
Bob, not to put you on the spot, but you're here. Did you hear different information tonight than you've heard at the other meetings?
Planning Commission Chair MacArthur, come on up.
Thank you for the introduction. It's put in a different perspective. I give that. But we discussed on the distances for everything, the septic, what hardship that might cause. We had there was no planning at all of how small the building could be, which would allow the septic to be put in at some point differently, that type of thing. We spent more time looking at, with that being the commercial corridor, and other buildings of having probably similar issues of issuing a variance for one that's been there forever, that definitely was going to be improved the building. I would have loved to seen that. You know, if one of those buildings was on both lots, everybody'd be a happy camper, but it's not. And the building is, with those setbacks, number one, there is a side setback issue on 456. It is too close to the property line considerably. And now those side setbacks are actually pretty important, because a lot of it is fire protection, having buildings not being side by side. I'm sorry, they're not side by side. I don't want you to misunderstand that, but no, I think we traveled all over all of that. We were concerned of, and I believe from Keefe Engineering, I don't remember his name, but definitely indicated to us that septics was definitely going to be an issue if that building was tore down and replaced at the same size. If the building was tore down and replaced at a smaller size, I got to believe that would be able to accommodate it. So, and the buildings have been there forever. We understand that, but we were concerned about the M15 corridor. We didn't relate back to any of the financial gains of the village, and that wasn't given to us at all. And thankfully, we tried to keep that out of all of our conversations of the use and the occupancy itself. So.
And we talked a lot about the variance running with the land as well, with the use of the land.
Casey, if you don't mind, can you take the maps down or
Put them over by Wendy if you want.
Right, yeah, and thank you, Melanie. One of the
32 p.m. and this is still Monday, October 23rd. Okay, next on the agenda is nothing in the agenda. In case anybody wants to make a motion, though, at this time, we can do so. Well, we have to have the motion, then we can do it.
We're doing them one at a time.
Yeah, we have to start that out and list the two parcel numbers, and we will vote on them individually.
I make a motion to deny the variance for property 490, oh no, we gotta do the other one first.
456.
Okay. I'll hold off on that. I gotta think about that more. Anybody else motion?
That was for 490?
No, there wasn't.
Well, the first one on our agenda is 456.
Okay, so which one are you making a
Which order we take
motion
them in
for?
doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll make a motion then. I make a motion that we accept planning commission's recommendation to deny the variance application for 456 South Ortonville Road.
Support. There's a motion on the floor, it's been supported. If there's further discussion on this, we can do so at this time.
I do have some discussion on that. I'm wondering, Melanie, you were at the planning commission, and I see Bob's out there too. They brought up a number of points about how this property is not usable as it is. Did they raise all of those same points at the planning commission meeting when?
Of how it is not usable?
Yes, about the constraints they said about not being able to put in septics, not being, you know, having to put the new septic, not being able to get enough
Septic
parts
was
and
new
spots.
information this evening, those two properties, that's why I asked about that. So, that tonight.
Okay,
was-
so you heard new information at this meeting that you did not hear that the planning commission did not hear.
I
when they
know
met.
that they were continuing to do their due diligence, so you know,
Okay.
that's, county takes, all of that takes forever, so.
Okay, and
I
that's
cannot
why, the
speak
reason
for
I'm
them.
asking about that is because in light of some of the information, it seems that there could potentially be some hardship on the part of the property or some constraints based upon this new information. So,
And I guess, for example, the parking situation is new because of where the septic is and the loss of spots.
yeah.
That was new.
So in light of some of those things, rather than just flat out deny, I would be sort of inclined to change that, depending on what people want to do, and ask to have it reviewed again by the planning commission in light of the new information to see if they would change their recommendation.
Well, Larry, we can't entertain that, though. What we've got is the motion, a motion and a support.
Yeah.
In discussion, and then we're gonna have to
And-
vote either this up or down before we could even think about
Yeah.
Can I ask a
And that's fine, I
question?
made the motion.
Sure.
Bob, not to put you on the spot, but you're here. Did you hear different information tonight than you've heard at the other meetings?
Planning Commission Chair MacArthur, come on up.
Thank you for the introduction. No, it's put in a different perspective. I give that. But we discussed on the distances for everything, the septic, what hardship that might cause. We had no, there was no planning at all of how small the building could be, which would allow the septic to be put in at some point differently, that type of thing. We spent more time looking at, with that being the commercial corridor, and other buildings of having probably similar issues of issuing a variance for one that's been there forever, that definitely was going to be improved the building. I would have loved to seen that. You know, if one of those buildings was on both lots, everybody'd be a happy camper, but it's not. And the building is, with those setbacks, number one, there is a side setback issue on 456. It is too close to the property line considerably. And now those side setbacks are actually pretty important, because a lot of it is fire protection, having buildings not being side by side. I'm sorry, they're not side by side. I don't want you to misunderstand that, but no, I think we traveled all over all of that. We were concerned of, and I believe from Keefe Engineering, I don't remember his name, but definitely indicated to us that septics was definitely going to be an issue if that building was tore down and replaced at the same size. If the building was tore down and replaced at a smaller size, I got to believe that would be able to accommodate it. So, and the buildings have been there forever. We understand that, but we were concerned about the M15 corridor We didn't relate back to any of the financial gains of the village, and that wasn't given to us at all. And thankfully, we tried to keep that out of all of our conversations of the use and you know, the occupancy itself. So.
And we talked a lot about the variance running with the land as well, with the use of the land.
Casey, if you don't mind, can you take the maps down, or
You can put them over by Wendy if you want.
I just,
Right, yeah, and thank you, Melanie. One of the, be having to deal with those buildings for improving the commercial district along there. We would have those buildings and not be able to do anything about it. Whether any M15, anything happened at that intersection, those buildings were legally in place. We traveled all over that, and I understand the financial issue of if the buildings are tore down. We got that and understood it, but there was too many other issues that we felt was to the betterment of the village and security, some security, the roadway. You know, there should be a roundabout there, then we wouldn't have so much of a problem. But the front setbacks have to do with also vision, with traffic, and you know, there's a lot of different issues there with that other than just aesthetics. And so I don't know if I could add any more to that. And we definitely give it a lot of consideration about that, and it was concerned about if they did have to tear it down, the financial impact that would occur. Other than that, we had no qualms at all about what our recommendation was.
okay, thanks.
Do you know, Bob, what is the existing square footage of the building that's already there?
The size of it?
It's in the site plans that are on the back table
Yeah,
there.
I don't recall.
I don't know off the top of my head.
They were saying
Better
today,
knows.
based on a 2,000 square foot, and I don't know whether the current building's 1,500 or 2,500 or what it is.
I think 456, they were adding on a 20 by 20, something like that, addition on to 456 to increase the size of it.
That's also the one that the building was built and approved in the current location, but there was no record of it being built and approved in the current location, the 456.
Right, yeah, that was, of the two, that was the worst one of all of the issues was
But yeah,
456.
According to the notes, it had never had a variance and no paperwork showing any request whatsoever. So that one just was there.
It appeared.
It appeared on the aerial
It appeared
photo
one day.
from 1963.
For us.
And you know, having been a planning commission, I am aware also, as was mentioned, and I was going to also emphasize this too, thank you for doing that, that the variances run with the land, not with the use. So it doesn't
Yeah, with the
matter
land.
if
Correct.
somebody else takes it over in the future, that variance still is in effect forever.
Yes, and that was a big part of our discussion.
Yeah, and any existing non-conforming, the only way that it can be considered grandfathered is up until the point when there is any improvements done onto it. So as soon as you change that structure in any way, shape, or form, that's the time where you must have a variance or you must.
And it has to go
That's where
forward.
we're at.
Here we are.
And want to add to that, that addition on 456 did not affect the setbacks anyplace. The addition to that wasn't going to, I believe, it maintained the setbacks if that addition actually happened. They would not be violating the setbacks with that addition.
Now, regarding the parking on that, is all the existing parking somehow behind the front face of the building, like to the side or rear, according to the site plans?
I don't understand what,
The parking places for the building, are they all intended to be along the side or behind it, or are there parking spaces in front?
Based
They're all
on where the
up.
building exists now, and they're over there and they're on the back table, but to the south of the building and then sweeping behind.
Okay. Because if they had to rebuild with the bigger setback, I'm wondering if a different variance to allow parking in the front would allow them to get the parking. Or something like that. I don't know.
I'm not a civil engineer, so
But I'm just, yeah, I mean, I
we're
am
not
very
even- that's
uncomfortable with,
Speculate.
yeah, I am uncomfortable with the structure being that far into the right of way because of known improvements that we hope are coming to the community, like sewers, and if M15 ever gets widened or improved, which it desperately needs with the amount of traffic we got. And that would really impact our ability to improve that corridor from the roadway perspective if we have a building with a variance sitting that far in on the setback. So,
Because
I'm
we
gonna
we have
stick
worked,
with my
we have worked
original.
very hard on that master plan and the zoning ordinance itself to improve it. You know, a lot of time has been spent with the planning commission in the last 2 years to improve that master plan and to improve that zoning ordinance. And this jumps up and bites it. That's the only issue with it.
yeah, and there's only one final point I want to make, is when we are reviewing variance requests, we cannot take into any consideration any money that might come to the village as a result of allowing or not allowing something. We have to strictly look at the property and whether the facts around the property allow it to be used or not. That's the requirement. So we can't take any of that monetary stuff that was discussed into
It fits
consideration.
with our master plan and our zoning.
Bob, I'm sorry, Larry, you done?
Okay, yeah.
I just got a question. Bob, if you can answer, as far as these septic fields, what would happen if the variance was granted and then the septic field goes bad? They have to put in a newer one, the one that's above ground.
Correct.
So how could they do that?
I don't know what kind of space would be required for that the new septic system. Obviously, it's a bigger space for the most part. I think the bigger issue is going to be these wetlands, and MDOT is a huge problem. I got to believe it. But like I say, the planning commission put a lot of discussion into this and time trying to come up with the best plan that we could. And I would hope that anything that's going to be done to those properties, whether you do whatever you do with it, that it comes back to the planning commission for us to review it again. If they're going to make changes or anything, we'd like to have that come back to the planning commission to go through that
But in
cycle.
all likelihood, Wood, we're kind of combining a lot of different issues here into one, like the roadway and the turnabouts and things like that, because those are things that we're gonna have to cross those bridges at some point in time. But for what you've outlined is exactly what we've all thought and believed for a long time. A lot of these matters are probably gonna wind up back at the planning commission in some other form or in some other way, and we just gotta take them as they come and when they come.
Yeah, and thank you for putting up with it.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it, Bob. Any further discussion on the motion made by Trustee Hayden? Okay, hearing none, I would like to have a roll call vote, and before we have the vote, it's kind of, it's a confusing thing when you're voting on a denial. It means yes is you're denying the request for, it's a yes is a no and a no is a yes, but be clear, all of you, that when you vote on this, that the motion is to deny it, so a yes vote means you support denying the request for variance. No, sir. Thank you, though. When we get done and we move on and the vote's done with, because we closed the discussion portion, and I'll certainly give you a chance to speak. Roll call vote, please.
Green.
Before we do that, can we have it read back?
The motion.
Well, it's in the packet. And
The
it
No,
was
no,
for-
the
yeah.
motion.
read
The
back.
Who
motion
wants the
read back.
motion read back from Amber?
Okay, let's,
Recommendation.
The recommendation is to uphold the planning commission vote.
Yeah, accept the planning commission recommendation to deny the request.
to deny the vote. The motion is to deny their request. In short, the motion is to deny their request for a zoning variance. And if everybody's clear on what the question is, all we need now is to hear how the council members feel about this.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. The motion to deny the request for variance has been passed by the zoning board of appeals and by virtue of the village council, and that zoning request has been denied. No, there were just one at a time. So, by a 5-0 vote, that was denied. Is there any motions regarding the other parcel of property?
First, I'll do the second one. I make a motion to accept the planning commission's recommendation and deny the request for the property at 490 South Street.
Well, I supported the last one, and I'll support this one as well. And I would imagine if there were to be any discussion, it would be, because these were pretty much lockstep motions in the first place, or requests, that we probably covered all those. But if there's additional ones as it relates to this motion, we can have additional discussion if members.
For me, this is even easier because we're talking less than 5 foot difference in the building, so I can't see that that could make that significant of a difference in how they can use the property.
Okay, moved and supported, and discussion's been held, and I would like to ask for a roll call vote on the second motions.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Motion number 2 on the second parcel, as read off in the, by trustee Hayden, has been voted on, and by a 5-0 vote, the motion is denied. Request for variance is denied. Sir, you said you wanted to say something to the council. Sorry, Roger.
Yeah, I'm Roger Ingalls. I'm Jay Veterans Realtor. We worked with quite a few different people trying to come up with a place to use that property. And with the variance not being passed, it's going to be very difficult to do anything with that property. But I don't know who's aware, but they already have taken, MDOT has already taken quite a spot off that property to allow for additional traffic. So I know we're looking at the traffic being an issue, so they can't expand it. They've already taken that property about 15 years ago.
Okay, I mean,
And
we're
there's enough room.
ship sailed, and that, we're gonna have more ships coming and going.
Yep, so there's not much that can be done.
Right, thank you.
I thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
The zoning board of appeals has voted on 2 issues. Third, and it is 7:04 p.m. Meeting's called to order. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian gave us the last one, and Larry, would you mind us helping us along?
Not a problem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for that, Larry. I now would like to have a roll call of council members who are present.
Quisenberry,
Here.
Nivell. Here. Brooks is with notice. George,
Here.
Green. Here. Hayden,
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Okay, that was the roll call. Now is the agenda. Before we get going on the meeting, though, I want to pause for a second and say the zoning board of appeals / village council met a little bit earlier this evening, and prior to that, we were provided a packet by Manager Ryan Mattis, and I just want to thank him because I thought that packet was very well put together and contained everything that a council member might want to know to be as prepared as possible for a meeting such as that. So that was a nice packet on the zoning board, and thanks for that, Ryan.
thank you. I had lots of help.
Thanks, man.
No, it has to come together somehow, and the packet looked good. That being said, on to the agenda. I'm going to have to ask that the council add an item, and it's going to be a voted item, and I'm going to put it under new business B, and we're going to suggest that we call it DPW equipment. And if I can spilling the beans on this, just tell the village council the reason that this is being added on. Is we have a village, equipment problem that just arose within the past day or so, and it needs to be addressed by us rather than it can't wait a month to think about. So it's gonna require some immediate action on our part. That's the reason that item is being added. So if, with that being said, is there anybody else that would like to add to this agenda? Okay.
I will make a motion then to approve the agenda with the addition of new business B, DPW equipment for October 23rd, 2023.
Okay, moved and supported. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the agenda is now set. Item 5 is introduction, and this is something that Melanie has asked for, and I think it's a wonderful idea, that people in our business community who are either new or relocating get a chance to come in and we get to meet you and you get to see us in action. Just so you know, we're getting the better end of that deal. But with that, I would like Melanie to take over.
All right, well, tonight we have two businesses here, and this is just for, you know, our council just to know who's coming in, who's leaving, because there's no real procedure for that. So we are just trying to get more proactive with doing that, so we can meet all of you. So
You don't get graded on this either.
So I don't know, if you would like, you like the lady to go first?
Yes,
or
I would.
you, okay. Kim, is it Alexio?
It's Alexu.
Alexu, okay.
My name is Kimberly Alexu. I just opened up Mill Street Blooms and Mercantile, right down the road. And I offer fresh floral designs, delivery, botanicals, unique gifts, antiques, and it's just a cute little shop of uniqueness.
Please spell your last name.
Tuesday through Saturday. So
And is it Alexio?
IOU.
Okay.
No, we're all
Spell all the balls in there. Spell that again. Spell your
Don't know
last
what's
name, I'm
anything.
sorry.
Yeah.
ALEXIOU.
IOU. Oh, IOU. I love that. Okay. Okay, yeah.
Probably have never heard that before either, have you?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Probably not.
So are you open now full-time or still moving in?
So I did a soft opening beginning Friday the 13th, and I will have an official opening on November 1st.
Well, I already visited on Witch's Night Out, so I was glad to
Yes,
see you.
thank you. I thought I recognized you. Thank you.
Okay, Edward Jones, gentlemen. We have Mike and Jim, but go ahead and
I guess I'll go first.
do the whole, yeah.
So, name's Mike Ratliff. I ran the Ortonville Edward Jones office on M15, which I'm just in transition now, is why I'm saying ran. So I came out here about 15 years ago and opened up the first branch Edward Jones has ever had out here in Ortonville. Been out here ever since. It's been a lot of fun getting to know a lot of the community members and folks. And so, was looking to expand. We currently have 3 employees at that location, looking to go to 4. So that's why we started poking around and decided to come to the village. So we're excited to come down here, and I grabbed Jim here, and I'll let him introduce himself. I'll tell you a little bit about this.
My name's Jim Vrabel. I'm also with Edward Jones. My current office is in Lake Orion at Baldwin and Mabee Road. Mike's asked me to join him here in Ortonville. I've been an Ortonville resident for about 26 years. Both of my kids graduated from Brandon High School. We love the community and very excited to get back down here.
Nice. Welcome.
So when will you be officially working out of your building?
We're still going through. We started to get into layout. Edward Jones is a great company, but unfortunately, the size of the company, everyone's got to stamp and touch everything that gets approved, so it goes a little slower. But we were into the design aspect of it before we went. We rushed into a few things. We kind of just pulled back to make sure the size of the offices and the design is what we wanted. Because once it's going forward, it's going to change that. So we're thinking sometime early 2024 is what we're hoping by the time we get the trades in there, get the buildings ready to go pretty much minus some walls, electrical and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and that's the Ty-6, correct? That the Ty-6 that you deal with?
yeah, Joe and Julie have been awesome. So they're great to work with. And so yeah, we're looking forward to being down here. Andy's from the area and coming up here 15 years. So yeah,
I know, I'm excited. I was concerned when you were leaving. It's like, no, you can't.
that's been my biggest concern. So thank you, Melanie.
Well, when he first moved out here, some guy came knocking at my door, he was going through the neighborhood, just knocking on doors, introducing himself, and I liked him.
All right. Well, there you go.
Kind of like this guy. And the following week, well, I went and there you have it. So, yeah, it's been great.
It's
so.
also nice that neither of you are strangers to this area.
Yep.
It's been weird for me as I was telling my wife, and at least Jim still lives out here, but, you know, I live over on Seymour Lake in Baldwin, so for 15 years I've come across by Cooks and come here, and every day I go to, start my truck on to leave, it says, 12 minutes to Tractor Supply, and I'm like, I'm not going that way right now. It feels so weird, like I'm cheating on Ortonville, not but I know I'll be back, so
Yeah, old habits are hard to break.
Did you have any cards or anything you want to give us, or? And if not, that's okay. I just wanted you to know you
I'll
can.
email you my information.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Civil Ortonville, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I already have yours. Yep, I got your hotline.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us speak.
Glad to have you. Stay. Glad to have you stay and add more people.
Well, Melanie was the first to welcome you, and I know myself and the rest of the council will want to be the second. Also, people know that Ortonville's a small town, and maybe you didn't realize we even had a village council, but we do. So you've seen us here in person, so don't let anybody tell you that Ortonville doesn't have a governmental system that is in place. Thanks for coming, and
Welcome,
if
everybody.
anything at all comes up that's a concern with you and your business or the community in general, the village staff is happy to be your first line of inquiry, and then we just take it from there. So we hope to have a lot of satisfied residents.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. You don't have to stay.
Yeah, don't rush.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Especially if I tell you this was the highlight of the meeting. It does go downhill from
Truly,
here.
he's
so
correct.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks much.
And you don't have to give.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay for.
Okay, all right.
Okay, next on the agenda is item 6, approval of council minutes. This council held a meeting on September the 25th, 2023. A copy of those minutes has been prepared by the village clerk and is in our packets for becoming a draft to the official minutes.
Motion to approve our minutes of September 11th.
Support? Okay, moved and supported for the acceptance of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, there are none, therefore it passes unanimously. On to item 7, which is acceptance items. In our packets also is the planning commission met on September 11th. I know we've all reviewed that. Our attorney gives us an invoice from time to time. Actually, more like on a regular
Yeah, I was
basis.
gonna say.
Like time to
Call
time,
it
meaning
monthly.
weekly. I'm not sure how that comes down, but nonetheless, it's in there. We have a financial report, and also a revenue and expenditure report, both I assume prepared by the village treasurer, and those are in our packets as well. And I'm going to suggest that we all accept them, although we don't need to vote on them. If anybody has a question on those, any of those 4 items, Ryan or someone on the village staff. That takes us down to number 8, which is approval of disbursements. This is the spending of money, and that's in our packets as well. It looks to be somewhere in the area of just shy of $50,000. And there's a list of itemized things for us to look over and scrutinize if you should care to. And if there is something you have a question about, Ryan may be able to answer for us.
I'll make a motion to approve the disbursements from the period of September 15, 2023 through October 15, 2023 in the amount of $49,702.79.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. With that motion in place, I would like to have a roll call vote as to its acceptance or approval.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Okay, the payables, we will pay our bills this month. Next is public comments. If anybody came, oh, wow, it just cleared right out of here.
We can clear a room.
Shelby, any questions you have for us, or you, okay, you getting everything down all right? Is that we're, okay, good to know.
How about you, Laura?
I'm sure we're gonna see portions of this meeting in some form or another, coming up soon. That's the public comments. Inquire of items requiring council approval, of which there are 2 on our list. And they both happen to be special event permits. One is that we hold a Halloween parade on October the 31st, and the other is Christmas in the Village, December 2nd. Both of those events require a permit for us to vote on, and those have been provided in our packet as well.
Make a motion, we approve the special event packet for the Halloween parade, October 31st, 2023.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. All I can add for discussion is when I was about 11, I would watch those kids cross the bridge, and then they'd truck up over here by the fire department and do a U-turn. And there seemed to be like every kid, there was about every 6 kids, there was either a parent or a teacher with them, and I think they do it around 2 in the afternoon if they still do. But nonetheless, I think it's been going on around here for about ever. But I, of course, supportive of it, but that doesn't matter because we're all gonna vote on it. Let's do a roll call vote.
I would also want to make one.
Before I close the discussion, I didn't mean to be quick on that. There's the motion, support, I threw in 2 cents.
I got just 2 cents. I'm really glad to see we're already using our new event permits, and these ones being new are good, but I know in the future they may not be if it's less than 60 days, but these ones I'm not gonna worry about.
Yeah,
It's good we used May, because that way we can.
I always like the way that we did our permit, so that we can make exceptions when we absolutely have to, and I would agree that this is a perfect time to make those exceptions. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Rosenberry.
Yes. Okay, that was item A. Item B is also a special event permit.
Make a motion to approve the special event for Christmas in the Village, December 2nd, 2023.
Support.
Okay, once again, another special event that we all look forward to year after year, and this year we still look forward to it. But I'm sure the people that are putting it on would like to know that their permit was approved by this council. There's a motion and
Yeah, there's discussion. Page 10, page 10, the event title is not filled in. And then the lower half of this page is not filled in.
We can't
If
hear
you
it all.
Speak up a little bit, Tony.
Page 10?
Page 10,
Yep.
Yes.
everything under the clerk's office approval for other participating
filled out.
jurisdictions is not filled out.
That's my fault. It was a quick turnaround. We had a couple conversations about what and when, and we wanted to get it to the fire department and the sheriff's office quickly. And so we turned around before I signed the copy that's in the office. My bad.
And then as far as restrooms for the event, were there going to be extras or any of that? Because that's not filled in it either for.
It's not.
Okay.
So, as discussed, it was fast, but it's essentially going to be the same as every other year. Christmas in the Village, timeline-wise and everything else. I believe in the past there has not been restrooms.
Okay.
Additional, they use Old Town Hall and a couple other public spots, but I will confirm restrooms. The John Hugg, the new Parks and Rec director, is working to get up to speed on all the things that sometimes the files aren't as complete as one might think. So
I don't think the parade itself had anything to do with the Porta-Johns. I'm sorry, I can't remember what she just said, but
It is
there.
on the.
But they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there is one over, well, as of right now, by at the Burton Center, and I believe there's one in Sherman Park still. I'm not sure about this one.
there's still one in Sherman, but not one in Crossman.
Yeah, okay.
That one's
And
seasonal.
then is because it has a street closure, what time it starts and what time it ends for closure? What time is that?
We, in the interest of getting it to you, we rush it through. It'll be the same as last year. The number, I'm not sure. I meant to grab it and put it in my folder.
We'll start over by the senior center.
By the senior center, yeah, where the, and come down Church Street.
12 o'clock?
Yeah, don't hold me to this, but I think it's 1 o'clock start.
I think it's a 1 o'clock start, yeah.
And I just
We'll
remember from
confirm.
hearing, Jason
Wait a second.
Rumble mention that at the DDA meeting of the start time.
I thought,
Yeah, because I know
But
there
I'm
was
going off the
mention,
top of my head.
I thought I
but we
read
can read
10
it.
o'clock.
Hey, Brian?
No,
is
it'll
it
be early
possible-
afternoon.
Is it possible to fill in the kind of blank or missing or vague information on there and then send an updated copy down the road with full details so we?
Definitely, and you'll be the first to know as all the details are filled in, and it'll be promoted widely and all that good stuff. We just wanted to get the planning going.
No, I thought
That's
it was
why
10
came
because
to you in a
that's
hurry.
setup time, 10 a.m. and tear
Yeah,
down is
and
4
just,
p.m.
just a side note, you know, when, I like the new permit, I think this is gonna be really helpful, especially coordinating the other supporting people like the sheriff and CERT teams and things like that, but they will need to have the detailed information so that we understand, okay, street closures, when do they close, where do we let they close, and all that stuff, so. Okay, thank you.
Okay, there was a motion to approve Christmas in the Village, and there was discussion held, and it is time has come to vote on this.
Randazzo.
No. And the reason for that no vote is I am voting against it for all the residents that wanted this to be an evening event and are not able to have that event now this year.
Okay, well, Tony, I'll come right back to you in a second. but I
Okay.
gotta-
Ivo.
yes.
George.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes, okay, that motion passes, and I apologize, Tony, but if you wanna,
Oh,
Yeah, because we
Give
don't
us-
know anything about that.
yeah, we have been in discussions, 2 meetings.
Ooh,
Myself, Ryan, John, Courtney, Matt, Robin, and Robin, I don't, do you know Robin's last name?
Short.
Short. But to make it short and sweet, there is a discussion that started a year ago with myself and Fred, and it took all the way up until 2 weeks ago to have a meeting about this.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, like, and if anybody remembers, earlier this year, I had mentioned that it was something I wanted to get approved to have it in the evening to see the lights better. But unfortunately, that was turned down by my understanding by the township. And that's why I'm voting no on this, because I know there are a lot of people that wanted an evening event to, again, see the lights.
Did they tell you why though? Just so
No,
we know
I
kind
was
of-
not privy to the meeting.
Oh,
Yep.
I was just wondering why, if it's like something that they feel we can't coordinate, or, I don't, or is safety, I don't know, but.
it isn't any of the above, it's, in short, they're singing to the wrong choir, or the choir's not singing to the right people, because the Christmas in the Village is a township event, and if anybody wanted to make any changes or alterations, or be part of a committee, or assist with it, the township is the governing
That's the
body
township.
over that event. So, all the decisions that are made on it are gonna come from the building across the way, and not from the village office, although we're asked to participate and coordinate, and Tony on the committee, and Ryan. Everybody needs to get together and have these meetings, which they have held, but the final person on all of this is the township and the township board. And unless we wanna somehow try to arm wrestle it away from somebody, we can do that, and then we can call more of the shots than we're calling right now. But as it sits, we're not in that position at all. We're kind of the bystanders, and they're using the village streets for an event that they're holding. So we aren't the sponsors of it, therefore we have no authority over how they choose to put this thing on, other than just deny the permit if we choose.
Just one short thought. I do believe that we did it because I remember that from last year, and I thought we did something to kind of address that by doing the lighting of the Christmas tree on Friday evening. So that would be something that could be something on Friday evening before the parade and Christmas in the Village that you would be able to see the lights and all that stuff.
It just wasn't well attended though, Larry. It really wasn't. What, Pat? There were maybe 30 people, 40 people?
And that was brought up as part of it too.
Were you there too? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, in the discussions, that tree lighting was part of the discussion too.
Oh, was it?
And I
Okay,
don't-
because, yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know,
part.
is that something the
I have
village
that
did
for,
last
I
year?
So
or was it-
the DDA supports the parade in a variety of ways, and they, starting with Small Business Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, so a week before Christmas in the Village will be held. And then there's a series of events. There's a couple things that happen throughout the week. Tree lighting was one of them. It was mostly village-led, but it's kind of a combo between the
Yeah,
DDA and
well,
Village.
last year we didn't know, and we were told at the last minute that DDA was not going to be able to really pull stuff together. And we didn't know that as a
Right.
council. So it was too late for us to,
Do
like,
anything.
do something. So anyways, I bought a bunch of
We
ornaments.
hope
and
that's
stuff.
not gonna be the case this
So
year.
that was not expressed to me before. Does the Village Council want to play an active role in tree lighting and other events related to Christmas?
Okay, yeah, I was gonna bring
parade.
it up during trustee
parade.
comment, talking about that, yeah, because it was and we were specifically told last year that the tree lighting was the village council because the village manager or somebody usually does it. So.
First of all, it was Citizen of the Year that did it.
Or citizen of the year. So it was like, okay, and really, I don't care who it is, as long as it gets done properly.
And that's what I thought. I thought it was the village did the tree lighting and the township does the Christmas in the
Yeah,
village.
and I don't know, but I guess we
Parade
just
or
need to be
whatever.
clear.
Well, we can
Yeah, I
certainly
guess
coordinate
that
together and
committee
try to
needs
come
to
up.
delve a
I
little
didn't even
deep.
know that there was such a committee.
I didn't either.
Yeah, no, we're just learning it tonight.
Well, this issue
Not
came
a
up at the
committee.
DDA meeting.
Okay,
because
well,
on
what do you want us to call it? You guys all met. The meeting of the minds.
It was just a gathering to throw some ideas on the wall. That's pretty much all it was.
Okay, I mean, I
But
just
if
use
I
that
may-
term because you
yeah.
met.
If I may, though, I do remember, and this is where it gets confusing, I know Tanya lit the tree during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if she was acting as DDA or as village president.
Yeah, and
at
Dale
that point.
actually
I'm not
came,
sure.
Dale Stewart came.
Dale did, okay.
Yeah. It was Dale Stewart, Tanya, me, Courtney, and that was it, and we live videoed it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
of COVID.
yeah.
That was it, yeah.
So it has a long history of being perfectly smooth in every way.
No, and that's why we wanna bring it up, because it's like, who really is supposed to do it? That way we all know. And that way, it can get done correctly, whoever does it.
Because, and I have no issue with it being Citizen of the Year, truly. But if that's the case, then it's really not a village-sponsored event.
Right,
No,
which
it
is fine.
isn't. It totally is not.
Right.
At this point.
I mean, that's the way it feels.
Well, I'm hoping maybe with John Hug being in place now and starting to get his feet wet, that he will coordinate with the DDA and with the village through Ryan to try to bring these events together.
We all hope that that's.
Coordinate
right.
with
We all
us.
hope that there's great coordination, but it doesn't always happen. And, not to, the Parks and Rec guy, Fred, was here for about as long as I can remember. He's now not there, and there's a brand new guy, so he's kind of, learning curve himself as well, so.
He's probably not wanting to step out just yet. I mean, he's so new.
Putting his toe in the water, something like that, but in any event, at the DDA meeting, as long as this is coming up, this came up at the DDA meeting because their agenda said Christmas in the Village, December 1st / December 2nd. And when that issue was called on the agenda, Jason Rumble made it very clear that it's the 2nd, not the 1st. Anybody thinks it's the 1st or wants to change it to the 1st, it's not gonna happen. This is our event, and we're gonna hold it on the 2nd, which is Saturday. So the
Makes
Friday
sense.
tree lighting ceremony, he didn't want to take ownership of, and that's fine with me. But he made that clear, that if that's a separate event, that if the village wants to carry that torch, they can, but it isn't part of his Christmas in the Village that he's run for years and years.
Right, that's what we thought.
So that's the way that ended up falling.
Alrighty.
Whether or not the village does anything or not on its own, I guess it's up to us. I'm just learning this stuff for the first time about a week ago, so I don't know where we stand for this year or what, if any, plans we want to make. But Christmas in the Village, as the permit has indicated, is going to occur on Saturday, December the 2nd. with the parade and some whatever activities in town. Anyway, we'd already voted on it, so that this was just further discussion to answer Tony's thing, which he probably would have brought up in the
Yeah, I got
next-
it for
yeah.
trustees. Yeah.
And the next item that comes up, which is items from trustees, and I'm gonna start with Tony. Oh, wait a minute, you're all set, so.
I'm all set.
Just kidding, just kidding. You get the floor again for anything else you wanna share with us, but I'm glad we kinda got it figured out about the Christmas in the village.
We don't have anything figured out.
Yeah,
Well, we have it figured out for now. It's gonna come up in Ryan's thing, address.
In my travels
Or
around the
unless we
village,
ask
I just want to say that there was some really nice decorations. Larry, you added stuff now. You have vaults in the front of your house, but there are some really nice looking houses out there that are dressed up, so looks nice.
Thanks, Tony. Pat, how about you?
What are we in?
We're on items from trustees.
We're item, whatever.
We finished the Christmas on the village because we'd already voted.
Okay, yeah.
Afterwards, Tony had made a comment and that kind of started a new discussion, but back on the agenda portion, that's why I called on him first for the items from trustees, because it seemed like the right place to start. But I'm gonna go with Pat on this one. We have a letter from Pat.
Oh, God.
I don't know why, but for some reason my eyes simply went to the center of the page. But they've just been passed out, and I would like to give everybody a moment or two to read it. I think that's what you'd like to see.
Yeah.
Pat? Okay.
Oh.
You know, and I'm shuffling a lot more now than I used to. When I, those of you that have seen me walk with Kelly over the years, she's taken over the lead and has to pause for me to catch up. So that's part of it. I don't really, like right now, I don't remember who's over in the corner there. So I'm losing, there's a few loose marbles out there. I know, Amber, you always have fun talking to me. So yeah, it's just happening. I'm 75 and just kind of wearing down.
Okay. For the sake of items by trustees, Mr. George just had a turn, and he passed out a letter to all the council members, and it sounds as if he is offering up his retirement from the village council effective October 31st.
Yeah, end of October.
2023.
Yeah.
Obviously, thanks for the letter and thanks for the information, and there isn't anybody on this council that I'm sure doesn't wish you and your wife the best.
I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, I've been seeing more doctors this year than I ever seen. So comes and goes.
So, is tonight your last meeting?
No, it'll be 30. I just put 31st because it sounded better at the end of the month. This is the
Oh, I
last.
see.
This is the last payday. I originally had tonight.
That's the last meeting then. Yeah.
Okay, so.
If you give me anything between now and the 31st, you won't see anything back.
All right, well, thank you for that. What we'll do is, you don't, obviously, your retirement, and thank you for the notification, is October the 31st. In our November agenda, we
We'll have
will
to vote to
put an
accept.
item to
Yeah.
accept your resignation, and we will, at that time, begin a search for a replacement council member.
Could you accept it tonight?
Well, we can accept it, but we can't vote on it.
Really?
Well, we didn't put it on the.
Well, if you mean out from a standpoint of a nuts and bolts things, if I would have put this out in the beginning and adjusted it, would that have made a difference?
Yeah, we could have added
Probably,
it.
yeah.
But, I mean, that's just,
We can't make you
Semantics.
stay.
It's formality. You don't have to show. You don't have to show for it.
I do have one thing to say. My vocabulary is extremely good, like semantics. I know what that's all about.
Yes, you do. You definitely
I just
do.
can't remember who I'm talking to about it.
Oh, shit.
That's
And
it, though.
it's the
No, that's
advance
fine.
warning that we appreciate. What the vote is, we really can't vote. voted
No, I'm fine.
down
No,
anyway.
I'm fine. Like I say, if I see anything from you, you won't get a response.
But yeah, it's just kind of a Robert's Rules of Order thing.
No, that's fine.
Consider it filed and received. Or
Yeah, you know, we'll make
filed
notation.
And there's a question there, Amber, on this, you notice I addressed this to you, because I'm assuming as the village clerk, do you also do the paperwork on the hiring and firing type of thing? Does that pass by you?
No.
Oh,
sort of.
Usually it's
Well,
to the
never-
village
yeah.
council.
Well, never
There's the
mind.
swearing in.
Put
But
it in the
I assumed you would.
agenda is all.
I assumed you would on the paperwork.
Oh, don't let her kid you,
good.
she's got all kinds of authority, Pat.
yeah.
Don't play
I
that.
went up top.
Yeah, but it doesn't extend to council members because people hired and fire us.
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
hired you for good reasons, and you've done a good job, Pat.
But anyway, the other
That's
stuff
good,
is
yeah.
just the official part of it, but we are all, take note of it, and it will actually be in the minutes, that you pass that letter out, and, that we accept it, and, it'll be an agenda item next time, and again, it'll include the well wishes as well as the notation of him passing it out. So, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's see, Melanie.
I had the Christmas in the village, I don't wanna beat this up, but I was gonna suggest, we, as a council, maybe get together to light the tree the night before. I bought a bunch of ornaments last year because everything just seemed so messy last year, so I bought a bunch for the tree this year. But I don't know what we're doing with the tree. I know Ryan was looking into something, so I don't know where we're at with that, but that was a suggestion just to throw out there. If the council wants to get together and light the tree then on that Friday or whenever, there it is. That was all I was gonna throw out.
Okay, great. That's the week before Halloween, and as Tony mentioned, we keep saying it, these are issues for earlier on, at least they're better planned when we do it that way. But that doesn't mean this isn't still gonna take off and fly, and it'll probably wind up in Ryan's lap in the morning or in the next coming days.
Yeah, so that's it, and other than that, I'm sorry to see you go, Pat. I really am.
I think we all are, thank you. Kay?
Couple of things. Edward Street, I don't know if anybody's ridden on that or has Bob said anything. That road is bad. And I mean, it's really bad.
Which one?
Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
It's used as a throughway, you know, when they go against the village. They
Connects Granger to Varsity Drive, and obviously
Street.
gets a lot of bus traffic and a lot of traffic from the Harvey Swanson School, and has been a high-traffic roadway for as long as I can remember.
It's one that we've talked about in our CIP. It's got a lot of alligator to it because the water just kind of sits on it. So the road needs a crown and it needs a ditch, either a crown or a grade and a ditch so the water has somewhere to go so it gets off the road. Doing the full combo is not cheap, which is why it hasn't been budgeted for
As
just
long
yet.
as it's on the radar, because it's really bad.
Well, I know they did some drainage work on that several years back, because that was the first step, is if we don't have good drainage, there's no point trying to redo the road, it'll just fall right apart.
And the rail outside here, I grabbed a hold of it tonight. It's like wobbly.
The metal one?
Maybe somebody could look at that. Halloween evening, Mel and I will be at the DPW setting up for the trick-or-treaters when they come in for the cider and donuts. I'm assuming that's all taken care of. You've got,
Stealing my thunder. I was going to say
Oh, I'm
later.
sorry.
Beaky's is doing cider and donuts. They don't do cake orders, but they'll do 1,500 donut holes for us.
All right.
perfect.
Yes. And
Beaky's.
also a porta-john has been ordered for outside.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get a zillion
No.
questions of that.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Septemberfest went really well. I think we talked about that the last time too, but I just the work that everybody put into it, it takes a lot of people for that to come off well, and we had that. And I think that's it. Thank you.
So, for items from trustees, we've heard from everybody, but we can conclude with
Larry, you gotta have
You
Larry.
did, I didn't get to finish my sentence. I said, we have heard from everybody, so we can conclude this, item on the agenda with
comments from Larry Hayden,
Okay,
which you know I was going there, so.
okay. Yeah, I agree, September Fest was really good. Witches Night Out was a good event too. There were some plus things about it. There was also a few minus things about it. On the plus side, we had really good attendance and there was no major significant events. Got to see one of the new shops there when I was up there, and I was glad to see them, that we're getting new businesses coming into town, so I think overall it was a successful event. On the downside of it, there still were a number of people who were taking drinks outside of the established areas where they were serving alcoholic beverages and taking them out and walking around on the streets with them, which has been a complaint in past Witches Night Out events, and I know it's a tough thing to do because we really aren't staffed to enforce that type of activity, and I know even Lieutenant Glover, I think, gets frustrated about that because he can't really do a lot about it either when there's people wandering around with that. But that is something that was noticed. Like I said, fortunately no major events, but a few tipsy people, and yeah, I think it is good that it's posted as a lock your kids away safely, because there are some adults that get a little bit tipsy, and that's maybe not the best place for young children. But it was posted that way, but people still chose to bring kids anyways, and that's up to them. Anyway, other than that, I agree with what Tony said earlier. There's a lot of houses that are really decorated up nicely. I really like seeing the Halloween spirit in our town, no pun intended. And I really encourage anybody who hasn't got decorations up yet, there's still time. And with that, I'm done with my comments.
Thank you very much. That was very informative.
Do you have DDA stuff you want to tell us about?
I just did.
That was it.
That was it.
Where is it?
The DDA, they do their own reviews of a lot of their things. Their meetings are, because they seem to work, they get all their legwork done, and kudos to Matt for this, but they get their work done in committees and small groups and things like that, so that by the time a meeting rolls around, just whatever the agenda says is really just, we're going over things that they all internally have worked out themselves. So I don't get to be a part of that, and I'm not even sounding like I'm complaining about that at all. Other than when it comes to reporting what they've got, you know, we get their meeting minutes each month. Those are far more informative than I could possibly be, because again, that's how they function, and it works well for them, and I hope they continue it. So that gets done with that. On to the new business, the meeting location. We kicked this around. It sounded like everybody was in favor of it last month, but we knew that we were going to need a motion to do that, to put officially in place Ryan's authority to facilitate the change in location. By that, notifications to the people involved, and notification to coordinate with the township folks, as well as letting people like Shelby, we don't want her to come here for the January meeting and wonder where we are, because you would miss us, I know it. So it is an agenda item that we requested last month be put on for this month.
I'll make a motion that we have Ryan work with the township on having our meetings at the township offices when they're not in use by the township. Beginning January 2024.
Support? Support. Roll call vote.
Well,
Oh,
we
yeah,
discussed
discussion,
now.
yeah, discussion.
So,
I'm sorry.
Ryan, are their meetings the same night as ours? Are the council or planning? What are they the same night as?
Generally, the fourth Monday is available.
Okay.
Not always, but generally. Just looking at their last couple months, upcoming couple months kind of thing. Their regular meetings are the first Monday for the township board, and then the other ones, I believe, are not on Monday nights. I could be wrong, but the fourth Monday looked pretty clear.
Okay.
For the entire calendar year, minus some exception we don't know about yet.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And
We
then
would,
with
we
this-
could get trumped, and if they call a special meeting for that,
Then we-
then
yeah.
we'd get bumped.
I'm here, but.
Yeah,
But they would do so knowing that we typically would be
Right.
having that time.
We'd be on
so
that calendar
I don't think
for-
that they're gonna throw us off unless it's a,
They need to, yeah.
Is
something-
this strictly for village council meetings, or would this be for planning as well?
Just village council. The planning commission and DDA get to schedule where they meet and
Okay.
how, and it's up to them.
any other comments, questions regarding the moving of our regular meetings beginning 2024? And now I would like to
Well, I would say something while I still can vote. I still really like it here. I do. And, those of us, Larry, who were there during one of the prior council members, it just always seemed to me that they in particular were sitting up on a throne, and it didn't go well in that regard. There was I felt a lot of negative comments made to the citizens there. That being, because I'm saying, like we're going to be up on the thrones, and our plants people or whatever, plants people. Anyway, and I'm looking at this. This to me is terrific. And we say, well, you can't hear it. I'm thinking, well, what century are we in? You know, how tough is it to put some wiring up here, which facilitates all this vocab. So no, as I still have a right to vote, I would very much prefer to keep it here. You know,
you are not going, you are not being put in a position where you don't get to vote. You will get to vote until.
oh, okay. No, I'm just saying that's my opinion.
Okay, that's good.
I find it, when we were over there, you could hear better, you can see better, definitely. These lights leave a lot to be desired. When I look at the clock, not that I look at it all the time, but it's just a blur. The lights are shining on it, and in the people tonight, it was, you know, we had that to move the whatever they had their things on, and yes, and the kiosk where they spoke, where they don't have to do that there. They just stand up, and there's nothing
And the
preventing
plumbing.
them.
The plumbing.
The plumbing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good,
Well, we all love this building, and it's a historic
Oh, yeah.
gem, and we're all proud of it.
right.
But we can conduct business in a better setting, too.
Yeah, what are the because we do have sometimes presentations that we view up in here on the screen there. I assume they have some good presentation capabilities within that room?
They probably have some of the best layout and equipment for what do they call those presentations you do with a
PowerPoint.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word.
Yeah, I knew they had something that they put on the
And
wall.
one of the other reasons is, you know, the CTV people come to this building, and it's not even set up at all for their, I'm usually tripping over all the wires that they have to move in and out each time. And that is set up specifically for these meetings. So it's a tremendous burden from the cable people to have to try to come and film one of our meetings here, which if you ever watch that TV, really doesn't come out anyway, because of the sound and because of the echoing and because of all those other things. So folks that don't make it to our meetings but still want to follow us, and I don't know who that would be, but if there are any of them, they wouldn't be able to do it. They'll be able to do it much, much better from the comfort of their living room in that setting.
I will springboard a little bit off what Pat was saying. I do like it here because I do like the feeling of being down at the same level with our residents when they're here to speak with us. And I do like to have that, you know, more cozy type of atmosphere as opposed to sitting up on top looking down at them. However, at the same time, I'm well aware of the logistic limitations of this space. I know there's things we could do to address it, but at the same time, you know, when we moved here, it was a time when there was a lot of controversial things going on and a lot of controversy on the council, and we had a lot more attendance. So being as we seem to be a more even keel now in terms of aligning with the residents and aligning with the community,
Thanks,
and we have
Larry.
fewer things, fewer controversial issues, we don't see as much public, so I would say, for the sake of the better logistics and stuff, I can understand where a move could work out while going back to the township.
Just the heating and cooling aspect too. It's always cold in here. I mean, during the winter, it's very cold.
Maybe we'll save a few dollars by not having to heat this building when we have our meetings.
Right? Well.
Alrighty.
Okay, that was
Couldn't have
awesome.
timed that any
That was
better.
perfect
Alrighty,
timing.
not to mention the electrical bird.
Oh my goodness.
And it's because there could be ghosts here too that we don't know about.
That would be great.
That would be awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, that would be okay with me.
I'd love to visit. But
Set
we'll
the heat,
continue on
thank
with the roll
God.
call.
George,
No.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Okay, Ryan, that's gonna be
I'll have something for
officially
you at
passed
the
by the
November.
village to make that giant leap across the street.
Sorry about that.
Next is item B, DPW. This is an item that I added, and it's added to because I had a conversation yesterday with Ryan, and the DPW owns a backhoe / tractor, and we've been looking to replace it for quite some time. It's been nursed along over the years, but it lost a whole ton of oil a couple days ago, and it's in such disrepair, Bob doesn't feel that it can move forward with this piece of equipment. It just happened to coincide with Ryan attending a conference in Traverse City, and he had a dual motive for going to this conference. One was to learn how to become an even better village manager, and the other was to scope out equipment places all the way up through to Traverse City, where some of the bigger dealers are, and to price out and look for a replacement backhoe. As you know, in our planning conferences before budget time, this came up, and we allotted in our budget $100,000 for DPW equipment. Unfortunately, with this thing breaking down and we be stuck with nothing, Ryan and Bob found a piece of equipment that they are going to look into purchasing. The cost of this piece of equipment, I think, is approximately $70,000. We can't really wait on or sit on this one. I'll let Ryan add to what I'm going to say to my final comments about how this is. But if we shop this and buy it, it's going to show up next month on that expenditure report. And again, it's been budgeted for, and who likes to spend that kind of money? We have to, and it's the recommendation of Bob and of Ryan that we approve. He hasn't even picked out what they're going to get. But what we don't want to do is they find something next week or the week after, and their hands are tied because the limit exceeds what this council is going to authorize. So we're not specifically buying any piece of machinery today. All we're doing is lifting.
Oh, so what was the 70,000 then? I thought they
Well,
found a
that was the
piece
number
of-
that he kicked around to me.
Okay, okay.
But they
So
haven't
they
picked
think
out
it might
exactly
be.
what they want or exactly how much it is.
Okay.
All we need to do is to untie Ryan's hands to make this replacement purchase in that amount, because it exceeds what we currently allow him to spend. Otherwise, he could find one, pick one out tomorrow or the day after, but wouldn't be able to buy it for another month.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want to do, is we want to give Bob and Ryan the freedom to get the piece of equipment they want at a deal that they believe is the absolute best for us, the taxpayers, and we have to give them that authority to do so. So that's the purpose for this motion coming up, and again, I became aware of this yesterday or the day before.
How much money do we have? Do we have the full amount in the account?
Yes, so we budgeted 100,000, we haven't spent anything yet. We talked mostly about a backhoe. We also talked about DPW trucks and some other equipment that, we have a 2002 salt truck, and you don't see a lot of those on the road. Our backhoe, it went from critical to hospice care just this week. And so It's one that we've looked at, we've been talking about it. We've been meeting with AIS. You'll see I mentioned it on the very last sentence of my report there. They have a big yard in Traverse City. They have yards all over. But they had one that is more or less the same equipment that we have now. And that was the one that's at about $70,000. It's used, it doesn't have too many hours on it. So that's kind of our starting point.
Still there?
It is, yes. And it's actually since moved to Lansing, because that's their main yard. So,
How about that online for municipalities?
so I've looked and I didn't see anything right now, but they do come up, and that's why if something comes up in the next week or two, that may be a good source. We've also talked, Bob and I have been talking a lot about the amount that I'm sure you saw in disbursements for equipment rental from Bob. We use his personal tractor a lot, and it's a good sized Kubota. It's not a road size equipment, but we don't use the backhoe that much as a backhoe. We use it primarily to move salt, and we use the bucket a lot, but we don't have a set of forks. That is the Village's. We use Bob's currently. And so maybe we could get a bigger Kubota or John Deere. It'd be the green one, so it'd be a yard tractor versus a road piece of equipment, yellow versus green paint. I learned that at AIS, that yellow stuff is for roads and green is for, there you go, it's worth the trip. But there's a couple different options that we could use to fill the need. So would we spend the whole $100,000? Probably not. It's probably to get something that suits us. It would mean that when we need to dig a trench or things like that, we're going to rent equipment and get a bigger piece of equipment that's the right size. Anyway, we have a very good source who lives on Church Street that we've contacted a lot to help us with projects like that in the past and can continue to do so. Dan Mann has lots of equipment and is extremely helpful.
Snow, for, when we mound up the snow is that the piece of equipment we use?
That's what we've used the case, the backhoe for, yes. Yep, and we had floated the idea of hang on to that one rather than try to resell it because it's not worth much, and use that as our salt dog for a while so that we don't put a new piece of equipment in the salt. If it's gonna fail, then we don't want to hang on to it. So we're kind of weighing all the options. Like I said, I don't think we'll get anywhere near the $100,000 that we budgeted for it, but to be able to find the right piece of equipment in the next week or.
The amount to be in the motion.
I think it's an up to.
70?
Not to exceed.
Or not to exceed. I think if we called it 75, we'd be okay. If you want to say the whole 100.
Let's say 80.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Call it 80.
All right. Hey, are you
Honestly,
gonna
if
make
it
the
were-
motion?
If it were much more than that, I would be hesitant, but.
Make a motion then that we allow Ryan to purchase the needed vehicle between him and Bob working out between 70 and not to exceed $80,000.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion. You didn't have a minimum of something on there, did you?
No, you should say
I
not
heard
to
a
exceed.
I said between 70 and 80,
Yeah, but
not
if
to
I find
exceed.
one for 55, I'd like.
And we may.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Okay,
love to have
then
them
I
go
will
lower.
please take that off my motion. I'm going to rescind
You
it.
get not to exceed
Up,
80.
not
Just
to
not
exceed
to
80.
exceed
That's
80.
And that's one of the options is the Kubota decent sized tractor is somewhere in the 55 to 60 range with some of the attachments we would need. So hopefully it's a lot less.
I would like to see also include some sort of a minimum number of estimates or something. So I rather than just say, okay, we see this one at this price, let's buy it, I'd like to see at least, what do you think is reasonable?
I don't think
It's not
they
gonna
have
come
time.
before us, they're gonna spend it
Yeah.
before we get a chance.
I don't
to
think
look
they
at
have time to get bids and have that. I think
Well,
that
I'm not talking about
the
getting
village
bids.
manager and DPW director
For shopping.
can do this.
Yeah, I'm talking about shopping. You say, you look here, oh, they've got this one for this price, over there they have that one for that price, and here they have that one for that price. When we look at these three, this one
Those are
fits.
things you do when we have the time
They
that
can
will
do
allow
that.
for that. I think they've been
Now
shopping for
that's
these
up to
things.
them. They've been
For 6
Shopping for
months.
these things for
Yeah.
several months.
I trust
I
them to do it.
I just said I would prefer to see some different estimates, but if you guys don't think it's necessary, we can leave it.
Larry, I promise we will use our due diligence
I
and
think
we will
it's
use our best
necessary. I
judgment.
think They do it, they would do that automatically.
I think
I'm
they've
pretty
done
sure
some
they
of that,
would,
it
and-
sounds
I would hope they would
So it shouldn't be
automatically.
that
They're-
difficult.
The case 580 has served the village well for 23 years, and we're hoping that we get a piece of equipment that lasts
Should
at
have a
least that long.
ceremony for
Right.
putting that to bed.
And this is why we need to have those things in the capital improvement
And we
plan
do.
on a regular schedule.
And we do, and that's why we have 100,000
That's
in
right.
this
That's
budget
right.
to cover it. That's right. And I sent you and Bob both some of the, like Lyndon and Fenton both had some equipment.
Yes.
So every time I see those, I've been sending them off to you guys, because it just comes up. And
Yeah, and there, you never know when, but we'll be actively hunting this week with your approval.
Does
Thank
it has
you.
the
Info
potential
yet.
of being a money-spending effort?
Randazzo,
Yes.
Nivell,
yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to the village manager report, and Ryan listed 4 items on here. 5.
Got a couple. They're on the back too.
But with that, if you can blow over those, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll go over the ones that are listed, and then I've got a couple I'll tack on. Working on the website, I sent the link to Village Council of the kind of demo site where we're making all the changes. Take a look. It'll
Looks
be good.
good.
It's on its way. Yep. The next is the Michigan Municipal League Foundation and the Ralph C. Wilson, I left out the Junior Foundation, are hosting a local economies workshop here in Ortonville. So it's a kind of a pilot program that they're doing around the state to gauge what the climate looks like for small businesses. And based on our relationship with them, started by Trustee Nivelt, we were asked to be one of the case studies for what that looks like. So you'll know the foundation does all kinds of things. The Ralph C. Wilson Foundation invests heavily in trails and outdoor activities and placemaking and all kinds of good things. So this will be our first engagement with them ever, as far as I can tell.
When's that?
It'll be held on November 8th. And there's a couple pieces to it. It's kind of a by invite only, so no offense. There's a couple parts for more people, like there's a walking tour. So if you're interested, I'll send the time to all of council, and if you're able to make it, cool. But if not, they're more interested in hearing from business owners directly and things like that. So, but it's a cool opportunity and a very good thing for the village. Grants update, there's some gutters and strikes on our scorecard there. We did not receive the Michigan Arts and Culture Council grant for 2024 or the RAP grant, the Revitalization and Placemaking grant from the state. We did receive a DNR tree planting grant for 2024. Those are for downtown and beyond. They'll cover some of the gateway trees going west on Mill Street and south on South Street. And then SISMA gave us a small grant to assess invasive species in the park. That was completed earlier this month, or even in late September. And then your packet has the flyer for RRC the Virtual Academy. Any questions?
Linda's our RRC person, isn't she?
Yep, it's a good one. As we get done with the zoning ordinance, as led by the Planning Commission, RRC is gonna take off in a big way. That's been our logjam for a long time, but of the 20 or so criteria we have not met yet, about 17 of them are zoning ordinance related. So we'll have a couple punch list things after, and we'll be flying. Other updates, as mentioned, I went to Traverse City, I went to the Michigan Association of Planning Conference. This one's for Larry, but we will be doing PACER scores to assess our road conditions in November. It takes 2 people to do that, and 2 people that are certified to score PACER, and and Bob is one, but we have one from SEMCOG that we've worked with before. We'll get into a couple ordinance things next time, because we left that off from Planning Commission. I totally forgot it on our agenda, but it's not you'll see it in your next packet.
We're still waiting on, stuff.
Oh, no, I was talking about the consumer's energy one.
Oh, gotcha.
Which
Okay,
is
I'm sorry.
very basic. You'll see it next time.
Yep.
Mentioned beekeys, mentioned the backhoe. And last, I gotta say that Pat, I am very sad to see you go. I have truly enjoyed working with you for the last several years. All of our long talks have been extremely helpful as I got my feet wet in Ortonville and as I learned the ropes. So thank you beyond thank you for everything.
Well, he sure knows how to do do a baseball anecdote for you and your family.
We might be checking the score of the Diamondbacks-Phillies game right now.
We would, he would be
Everything's
able
home
to,
runs and long hits.
we would move along so he could watch the Houston Astro game.
They started 2 minutes ago.
Uh-oh. And just on aside for the one, the grant, the businesses, the small businesses. So the MML, the woman I worked with for just that small $500 light grant, they are the ones that approached us and wanted to bring this to the village. They thought that we were kind of the perfect small, because they were looking for small communities, they don't get a lot of help, what do their businesses need, you know, blah, 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 and we were checking all those boxes, and because she was familiar with Ortonville, she had been out here for the 175th, and she had met everybody, she was the one that threw our name in the hat, and they said yes.
Cool.
So that was, I just want to say thank you to her for thinking of the village of Ortonville. I think that's great.
So we're on their radar.
We are very much on the radar.
Good, good, good.
Okay, well, Ryan, thanks for the update. I know that between now and our next meeting, answer before next meeting.
Feel free anytime.
In the meantime, we won't see each other before Halloween, so I know
See everybody then.
we all hope that Halloween in the village lives up to its famous reputation that it's had for about as long as I've ever lived here. And that it's one of the coolest places in the world to spend.
Hands down.
To spend your evening on October the 31st.
Yep. Hopefully the lights won't go out this year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, hopefully.
the tornado siren went off, I think, one of the.
Oh, last
Had
year
my
didn't
fog
work.
machines overloaded the system, but.
Yes. And good weather, everybody.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Are you ready for, make a motion to adjourn if
Make a motion to adjourn.
there's nothing else?
I think it's called for.
Okay.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
And Pat, I'm not even gonna allow you to object to us adjourning.